Are you ready for more? Did you get your center done so that we can move on? Hey everyone, Cristin here, and for those of us that have finished the center, our cute little lazy daisy for January, we can move on. So the next part that we're going to work on is the inner borders. So the inner borders have, let's see, just the borders and some batting. So for the border fabric, it is the gray with gray stars on it. And keep in mind, I've mentioned this lots of times, I don't cut them to exactly the size needed. I've had it happen before where you get it all put together and it's too short. And that is really a big bummer. So I am not going to do that. Instead, I cut mine extra long. So I don't recall the exact numbers what we need. We need, let's see, 2 of them to be 1 3/4 by 10.5, and then 2 of them to be 1 3/4 by 13. But I didn't do that. So you do you, whatever works for you. I cut all 4 of mine to about 21, a little more than 21 inches long. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do my stitching, and then all the excess will just run off of the edge and it's not going to be a problem. And then when I assemble it, I'll be able to just cut off what's not used. The big thing though, if you do it that way, is you want to attach your batting, and you want your batting to be exactly the right size. So I am going to have my batting on here, and then when the excess runs off, it's not going to matter because I'm not going to have batting in my seams. You've seen me do that before. That's how we're going to do it. So for the batting, we are going to want 4 pieces of batting. And remember, I said you want these to be exact because this is what will keep batting out of your seams. So we're going to have 2 pieces that are 1 1/4 by 10. 1 1/4 by 10. That's a 1/2 inch shorter than the actual size that we need for our seam allowance, right? So that we don't have batting in our seams. And then we want the other 2 to be 1 1/4 by 12.5. 1 1/4 by 12.5. All right. So I already figured out all the math on this, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently. If you open up each of the designs of the borders, so we're using, let's talk about that. Where is it? All right, so for the inner borders, we are going to use border diamonds for the inner border in a 1-inch design. And like I said, I'm going to do mine a little differently. So let me just talk to you about that. So I pulled up the design on Brilliance Essentials embroidery software so that I could get an idea of what size they are. And I'll show you when we go to the computer, because I'm going to do all 4 in one hooping, and we only need to do it once even, because we should be able, depending on your hoop size, you should be able to fit multiples in there. Again, whatever works. If you're using a 5x7 hoop, you could probably fit in 2 of them and do the 7 inches twice, whatever works for you. But I pulled up each of the sizes. So the 1x10 is actually 1 3/4 by 9 7/16. So almost 9.5 inches long. So not quite long enough for our 10-inch that we need. The 1x12 is 1 3/4 by 11. So that one is probably perfect for the 10-inch one. So that's the 1x12 design. And then for the one that we need 12.5 inches long, the 1x14 is 1 3/4 by 12 5/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the 1x14 on all 4 of them, because like I said, I've got my excess material, and as long as I get my batting the right size, I'm just going to let it run off, and that'll just be the easiest. I'll get exactly the length that I want and need, and then when I assemble it, I'll cut off all the excess, and it won't be, no batting will be in my seams. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 4 designs in the 1x14 inch, and I'm going to use my 9x14 hoop. So if you wanted to cut down on, you could certainly do 2 of the 1x12 designs. Like I said, the length is actually 11 inches. and you do need 2 that are 10 inches. So you could do 2 of the 1x12s and 2 of the 1x14s, and that'll work absolutely fine. I'm just going to do all 4 of the 1x14s. I think that that will be the easiest. But again, whatever works for you and depending on your hoop size. So that's all we're going to do today. Inner borders, it shouldn't take very long at all. I think it'll just be one hooping actually. So let's go over to the computer and I'll show you how to merge them together into one hooping. Hey everyone, I'm at my computer now and I'm going to open up Embellishment Essentials. For those that want to create all 4 of the strips in one hooping, I'm going to show you how to do that. It's completely optional. And I have a call. Hold on. Sorry about that. All right. So like I was saying, if you have a large enough hoop that you want to join them all in one grouping, I'm going to show you how to do that very simply. So we are going to go to this merge stitch file button, and but first let me change my hoop. Oh, I'm on my 9x14. How convenient is that? If you're not on the hoop that you want, you go to this preferences folder, click on the hoop that you want and say okay. And then I always go to this compass button and I click H for hoop to have it zoom into the hoop. All right, so then merge stitch file is this button here, and we are looking for the diamonds and sunburst right here. And we are going to use the 1 inch for the inner borders. So I want to show you real quick. I'm going to open each of these up. I already mentioned about the sizing, so I'm just going to show you. So here's a 1x10. You can tell right down here at the bottom the actual size of it. So you can click on it and it'll tell you it's 1 3/4 by 9 7/16. So we want a minimum of 10 inches. So this really isn't quite long enough. It is less than 9.5 inches. And it will work. Nobody's going to go, oh, there's this little bit of quilting that's missing. It will work. If your biggest hoop and this works out for you, go for it. That's fine. All right, so that's the 10 inch size, 1x10. Just moving it out of the way to show you the next one. And then where were we? So diamonds and sunburst. So here's the 1x12. And the 1x12, when I click on that, it is 1 3/4 by 11 inches. So that would work for your 10 inch. You would just let that extra quilting run off on the end. That will work absolutely fine. If you have a larger hoop, this would work for an 8x12 just fine. If you have a larger hoop, like a 9x14, then you could do the 14 inch. And it wasn't even 14 inches. So let me pull that up real quick. So here's the 14, 1x14, double click on that. It goes to the center. Sorry, just gonna move it out of the way. There we go. All right, and it is 1 3/4 by 12.5, less than 12.5. No, just over 12.5. 12 by 12 5/8. So just a tiny bit over 12.5. So that actually would work. 12.5. We need 12.5 for. So that would work. I was thinking we need the 4. Oh, this is the 14. Sorry, my mistake. So the 14 is 12.5 inches. So that's the one I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it on all 4 just because it'll be the easiest. You could absolutely do 2 of this 1x12 and 2 of the 1x14, whatever is going to work for you. And while I'm here, I'll show you the 1x7. I think it's called 1x7 real quick for those that have the smaller hoop right here. It goes to the center, so I'm just going to move it over here. And it is 1 3/4 by 6 5/16, so less than 6.5 inches for that one. So you would have to do a couple of hoopings, but that would absolutely work too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete these 3. That didn't seem to do it. Let's try again. No, that got 2 of them. All right, there we go. So I have the 1x14. And like I said, I'm just going to do all 4 of these. I think that will be really easy. So I'm going to go ahead and move it all the way over to the left, keeping it in the middle. And then I'm going to quickly run through and change the colors on this and then do a copy and paste. So there's lots of default blues and oranges. There's only one orange actually, because this light orange is a border orange. And that's just means that it has the sides, it doesn't have the top and the bottom. That's why it's a light orange instead of a regular orange. Now, for those of you that are going to do the batting the way that I'm going to do it, I'm going to glue the batting right onto my fabric. You could delete this first step and the second step if you choose. I'm going to keep it in for the tutorial so that I remember to tell everyone to bypass it, but you could absolutely click on it and click delete on your keyboard. So for the first one and the second one, this is the placement of the batting and the tack down of the batting, and we're not going to utilize that. So you absolutely could change or delete those, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those here, and then I'm going to just change this one color. So this third one, because I don't want it to group with this default one blue, I'm going to go ahead and just click on the color and change it to dark aqua and say okay. All right, so that's really all I need to do. I'm going to have the same quilting on all 4 strips, and everything else will join. So very simple. So let's go ahead and do a copy and paste. You have to click on the stitching, or you can click over here if you want to do it this way. Either way works. Just make sure that you've got it all. And say Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. And it goes right on top of the other one. So we're just going to go ahead and move it over. And then another one, Control-V to paste again. And I'm going to move it over here. And then another Control-V. And this one I'm going to move all the way to the right-hand side. I don't know if it matters that I have to get it just right, but I'm going to anyway. All right, so now we have all 4 of the designs, and I'm going to close it up so you can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4 strips, and that's exactly what we need. We have 20 color steps right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an align and distribute. If you've been following us for a while, you've probably seen me do it before. Sometimes I forget the settings, but we'll figure it out. All right, align and distribute right here under utility. And I want to say it's the center button over here that does it. Let's try. This is for the align button. Oh, sorry, I always forget that you have to click on them. Always forget that. So the easiest way, in my opinion, is to drag from the bottom up over here. You can also do it by doing this. Either one works, as long as you make sure that you've got all 4 of them, all 4 designs, all right? And then utility, and before we do a color sort is when you want to do that align and distribute. So we're going to go to align and distribute, and I think it's this left center. I always forget this part, but let's see. Oh, and it did. So there was that tiny bit of movement, and all it did is move them all to the center. What I should have done is had them more wonky so you could see the change more, but we could do that. Let's just show you. So if I was like just haphazardly throwing them all around, okay? And then again, make sure that you've got all 4, highlight them, utility, align and distribute, and then that center button. And then watch back here what happens. See how they all went, ooh, let's just get right in line. So that's perfect. I like that. So I'm going to close this just because it's actually not centered, which doesn't matter in the slightest, but my little OCD brain is going, ah. All right, so that is done for that part, but notice we've got a bunch of space here and not much between a couple of them, so it'd be better to have them evenly distributed so that we have room for our fabrics. And we don't need much room, but even still, why not utilize this option? So utility, align and distribute, and we're going to go to the distribute tab here, click on that, and I believe it is center, which is what we used last time. That makes it easy. So center up here at the top, and then center over here on the left, and I've got extent of selection clicked as well. So let's see what happens. Watch back here and see how they move. Apply. There we go. All right, so now you can see we have the same amount of rim in between each one, and you need to do that before you do your color sort, because right now we've got 4 different designs. Once we do our color sort, we'll only have 1 design, and it's going to be like, what do you want me to do? It's not going to work. All right, so right now we have 20 color steps. We should be able to get that down to 5, I'm assuming. Let's go ahead and try. So utility color sort, because we already changed our colors, and then we did a copy and paste. And it says it's reduced it by 15 color changes. So always click new view. Even if you think, oh yeah, it absolutely did it, just check. Just in case, check. And we talked yesterday on the video about the tolerance level here, 0. All of this stuff should be set the same way as I have it, so that you're not you have different settings and then you go, why didn't it work for me? It would be these settings right here. All right, so new view opens up another tab. And you can see that we went from, on this tab, there's 4 different designs. And on this Untitled 2 tab, we've got it down to 1 design. So if I open up that to see what it did, there's our placement for our batting, which again, you can delete that if you're going to do the technique I'm going to show you with the batting and the glue stick. And then the tack down of the batting, and then the placement of our main fabric. We absolutely want that. That's going to show us where to put those strips down just right. So we want that. And then the 4th one is the tack down of the strips. And that is super helpful. I really like that. It makes it so you don't have to watch it quite as closely and tape it down exactly right. And then we've got our quilting design on all of them. So that was just the easiest thing ever, and it's perfect. My machine's not on. I always forget to turn it on. So I am going to go to File, Save Stitch, File As right here. And I'm going to go ahead and name it, I'm in the embroidery design, so I'm going to go to the quilting designs. Let's see, right here, the bundle of the quilting. Embroidery files, I use Pez, and this was the Diamonds and Sunburst. So I'm going to say 1x14, and 4 of them, or quad, or whatever you want. I'm saying quad. Did you know I did a quad? Do you know what a quad? I did a quad on my bicycle. It's a 400-mile bike ride. Pretty cool. Anyway, so I'm naming it 1x14 quad and saying save. And this is the diamonds. I'm going to go ahead and name it diamonds as well, so I don't think, well, you know it's the diamonds because it's the 1 inch. But either way, 1x14 quad diamonds is what I'm naming mine. If you have a machine that you can send it to the machine, you would go to Utility and send to Solaris XP1. And then you're all ready. If you don't have that, just send it to your, copy and paste it or whatever, move it over to your USB stick, bring it over to your machine, and you're all ready to go. This will be a very easy one today, so let's go ahead and get started stitching. Alright everyone, you've probably seen me do this a bunch of times, but in case we have any newbies, just real quick. So I use this Elmer's glue stick, and it is purple. There's a link to it underneath this video, and it just works so great. If you have that spray adhesive, if you're a fan of that, that will work absolutely fine too. I'm personally not a fan of that stuff. It gets everywhere. So I like this purple glue stick. It's so easy to me. So I do a little bit at a time instead of doing the whole strip because it does dry very quickly. So you just put a little bit on and then put it down, and make sure to check the size. Don't forget I gave the sizes that you want for your batting, and just keep doing that all the way through and you're all good to go. Sorry, I had to rush through that. So just wanted to point out, you want to make sure you've got your 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. You start it a 1/4 inch down from the top, and that's how we're making sure to not have batting in our seams. my shirt today is Candy Cane Lane. Do you remember this one? A bunch of us made this one. I think we did it as a live video. Maybe, I don't remember exactly, but Candy Cane Lane, fun design. I believe it was from Designs by Juju. I will add a link underneath the video. The shirt is one of my absolute favorites. It's from Amazon. I'll add a link to that as well. It's got a nice little hoodie and it's got a little kangaroo pocket. I think that's what they're called when there's a little pocket on there. And there's plenty of room to embroider on, and it's got a little stretch to it, so it fits really well. I really like this shirt. It's very comfortable. So I'll add a link if you want to make yourself a shirt. This is a good one to do it. And you know, we're supposed to be talking about candy. My husband actually brought home licorice the other day, which is so funny because I was just telling you a few days ago that I had a craving for licorice, and gosh, I probably haven't had licorice in years, and it was so weird that he happened to bring some home. So today's candy is licorice. What are you having?
That you and I have conquered Telluride. Look, this is just the beginning of week 2. Thank you so much for joining me again. Thank you for allowing me into your home. It's been a good ride, but we still have work to do. I'll be here waiting for you next time. Until then, enjoy the views. I'm Paul Barretta, your iPad trainer. Thank you for another great ride.